Hello everyone and welcome to the NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, February 15th, 2021. Firstly, I'd like to wish a very happy Family Day to all Canadian provinces who recognise this holiday, and of course a happy President's Day for all of our good friends in the United States of America. It's Gary Gillen here and I'm your host for this week's edition. I hope everyone is doing very well and really looking forward to getting your calendars prepared for our 55 title winning party, which should be coming up at some point in the next few weeks. Hopefully. The start of this week seems to be a wee bit dominated by media reports that surfaced from yesterday, Sunday, on Valentine's Day. Actually, what is it about Valentine's Day and our club, I wonder? About a party in Glasgow that was busted in the early hours of Sunday morning, UK time obviously, thankfully, after we played our game on Saturday, and allegedly had Rangers players in attendance. Obviously, this is in direct breach to existing tight restrictions and restriction rules for Scotland, and the police reports stated, and I'll quote here, "We received reports of a gathering at a property in Hayburn Lane, Glasgow at 1:10 a.m. on Sunday, 14th of February. Officers attended and those in attendance left. 10 people were issued with fixed penalty notices for breaching coronavirus regulations." So at the time of recording this, which is almost 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Monday evening, we still don't know if this indeed does involve Rangers players. And if it does, I honestly can't think of anything more selfish and stupid under, the current global pandemic circumstances, of course, and then one from a personal level and two from, the wider implications to our club in the most important year in our history, or certainly the most important year in our recent history. We'll see how it goes and see how it unfolds before any public floggings, but needless to say, this is just a distraction that we don't need and certainly don't welcome right now. The one thing I'm kind of buoyed by was I expected to wake up this morning and see a whole bunch of headlines emblazoned everywhere talking about the players that were mentioned and what was going to happen to them and any sort of implications that might come to the club as a result of this. And it was dead from what I seen today. There was nothing too much, a couple of whimpers here and there. And I know the club are following process right now and trying to establish what happened and what's going to happen as a result of this. So maybe by the time you actually get to listen to this pod, it might all have come out in the wash and we'll know exactly what's happening. But for now, hopefully no news is good news and we can close in on this title and be relatively drama free during that closing as well. So on to the games segment from last week. Last week saw us again play just the one game, which was at home to Kilmarnock on Saturday, and we managed yet another clean sheet and a 1-0 victory. The goal coming from an absolute peach of a goal from Ryan Jack, a superb goal that he scored, and that gives us 14 wins out of 14 at home in the league as we march on to 55. And interestingly, we've only lost one goal in the process, so 13 clean sheets, 14 victories, one goal conceded. Incredible run in terms of our home form for this year. This week we have two games. On Thursday we are away to Royal Antwerp in the last 32 of the Europa League with a 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. That's 3 p.m. And just a reminder, this game is not live on Rangers TV. It is live on the regular channels between Canada and America. Canada is DAZN and America, it's escaping me now. I think it's CBS or Fox Plus or something like that. I'll make sure that the accompanying text that goes with this talks about what that is, but I'm sure you're fairly well versed in whatever the channel is in the States, having already watched 6 of the Europa League games in there. RTV does provide as live coverage from midnight UK time for anyone that does want to watch it via RTV. And good luck to Stephen and the lads for heading over there. Excuse me. And to bring back a favourable result to Ibrox for the following week. There's only a 1 week turnaround between the games in the last 32. Our second game is a home league game against Dundee United on Sunday. The games will obviously switch to Sunday now, and that's at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the last time we played Dundee United at home was way back in mid-September, where we ran out 4-0 winners with goals from Kent, Tavernier, Roof and Scotty Arfield. And we beat them 2-1 in Dundee just back in mid-December there, with goals from, yes, once again, James Tavernier and Connor Goldson this time. And like I said last week, I'll take any one of those scores this coming Sunday, and that will help us get the job done and get us a little bit closer. It seems to me, though, we've just lost the barrel loads of goals that we were enjoying kind of up to the end of last year, I guess, or the turn of the year, which is a wee bit of a worry. But I guess as long as we have one more than our opposition for 4 games, that will do me. And the fourth of those 4 games, if both ourselves and that team from the East continue to win out, to then will be March the 21st. And as it stands right now, with the 4 that we need, do you think it's likely that we're actually going to clinch it at Sharkhead? Oh, I don't know. That would be just poetic justice if that's the way that it actually worked out, and I'm crossing my fingers for that. I would absolutely take 55 to land on our doorstep at some point before that as well. Of course, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So points per game, based on the games that happened last week, Rangers are now on 2.72 points per game, which is up 0.01 from last week, and that other mob are on 2.18 points per game, which is up 0.06 per game after their 2 wins against St Mirren, with another unpunished dive for a penalty, and their victory over St Johnstone there just on Sunday morning as well. So you'll likely know now that we're in the exact same spot today as we were last year in terms of games played. So, with one more game, I believe, to get us to the 30 games, that takes us to 3/4 of the season being played, which should then take any talk of null and void or any other such complete and utter garbage and nonsense completely off the table. That said, I am going to continue with the points per game until the end of the season, just in case, just to keep everyone informed, so that you will be educated should any Celtic fan try and spew some nonsense your way. From a Rangers TV perspective, we never actually did find out what happened on the St Johnstone game on February 3rd in terms of the challenges we experienced for most of the first half, basically all over the world. And we have been in regular dialogue with Rangers TV and are told that investigations are indeed ongoing. And while I'm personally interested in what the actual issue was on the day and why it happened, I'm infinitely more interested in what happens or what is happening to ensure that it doesn't happen again. If we don't have the root cause, we won't be able to have the remedy. So that's a wee bit of a worry. And at the time of recording, again, the back of 7 here on Monday night, I still don't have that information. But I was assured that on Saturday, for Saturday's game there against Kilmarnock, that an emergency backup plan was in place in case of a repeat. And for those who watched the game on RTV, you'll recognise the feed was flawless. I never had one complaint about the feed on the weekend at all. It was very, very good. So it could be just one of these technology things that happens, maybe, or possibly we'll see. We'll figure out how things progress. We won't let this go, of course, because it was fairly material to our viewing pleasure that day. And we'll continue our dialogue with the club to make sure we try to get to the bottom of what happened. And I mentioned last week that the club's new swanky single sign-on platform doesn't allow casting from the app on your smart device to Android Comcast TVs. It's only Apple TVs that it will do that for right now. And that's a disappointment for me, because I think I mentioned last week that's what I have. That's my smart TV in my living room, which is a bit of a downer. But to get it on my own TV this past weekend, I managed to go through my son Leo's Xbox, and it worked a treat. He was kind of laughing at me before, hinting that I wouldn't be able to work out how to log on and how to get to Microsoft Edge and how to get to Rangers TV and how to log in, but I proved him wrong. So in your face, Leo, I'm very happy that I managed to do that, so I'll continue to use that facility until the app catches up and gets the ability to cast over to Comcast Android TVs. Just a regular plug for our TV vouchers again. If you want or need any more vouchers for your club, please contact your president or secretary, who will get in contact with me directly to get you sorted. It seems like we've plateaued on them for the season, which is okay, which is great. We have about 250 bears, as I mentioned before, that have access to the vouchers for now, which is great. We just don't want anyone to miss out on the action, especially as we're closing in on the big prize. From a convention update perspective, no specific updates this week for anything to do with NARSA 2021 finalisation or in planning for 2022. I do guarantee that we will be sitting down with the Las Vegas Loyal Organising Committee probably either before the end of this month or the beginning of next month, just to start to get a feel and flavour for the other excursions that are going to be planned for the event. And we will be talking internally as an NARSA executive about price points for the tickets and when we want to get the hotel bookings opened as well. We do want to do that fairly quickly, and we want to do that before the 55 frenzy as well, so that people can know that they're organised and sorted before the haze of the party week or fortnight or month begins as well. And as I mentioned the last couple of weeks there, if you have any suggestions on how to bring a more intimate feel to the larger events, please do get in touch. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on that as well. From a feature segment perspective for this week, you might have seen that last Thursday I had the pleasure of sitting down for an interview with David Edgar from Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. And if you haven't managed to catch that yet, you really should check it out. It's a great listen. I thoroughly enjoyed doing the interview. I didn't actually do that much. David likes to talk, and he has lots to say, and very, very good at it he is too. So he walked us through his journey of being a fan growing up in Kilwinning, to his position with the Rangers Supporters Trust, to the inception of the podcast and how it's evolved, and how his role has evolved now in terms of covering games and press conferences as part of what we now know as fan media and the fan media revolution. It was fascinating. Lots of things that I learned as well, and hopefully the same for anyone who's managed to listen to it to date. And it lasts for about an hour, just over an hour, I think. And I literally think I maybe said about 30 words, and David did the rest of it. So 100% it's the easiest interview I think I'll ever do in my life. And I'm going to try and see if I can maybe have him back on again to give the same sort of feel for that again for future interviews, just to give me a wee bit of a breather. But yeah, it was. He does like to talk. He talks very, very well, and it's a very fascinating journey that he's had thus far, and he's not finished by any manner of means. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you did too, and if you haven't, you can go and check it out on the podcasts where you download your podcasts, or on our YouTube channel, NARSA Communication. So the second feature that we have for this week was, I think I mentioned it last week, maybe I didn't, I'm not 100% sure, but in the latest series of communication that we've been trying to have with official RFC licensees, we met today, just earlier today actually, with Gordon Drysdale from the Taxi Board game, and just basically to see what they've got going on, what their product is, how that's maybe going to be of interest to NARSA members and membership alike. And if you haven't heard of the game before, the concept is a board game, a physical, literal board game, and it's based on the working life of a taxi driver. And the players will travel around the board as a taxi driver, picking up passengers, and you can receive a tip if you successfully answer a trivia question about the team or the city that the team is from, or general knowledge is thrown in there as well. And you get to work around until there's a winner declared. With my dad Ronnie being a taxi driver for all of my lifetime before he retired, I'm really looking forward to seeing what this one is all about. When we left Gordon today, we had a promise that we might bring him on the pod just to have a little bit of a conversation about it. But if you haven't heard of it before, the taxi game is working with most major clubs in Scotland, and you might have seen some of the product out there already. In terms of a wider marketplace. The biggest club that they have right now in terms of interest and sales, I believe, is Chelsea, and they're currently are going to be working with the English FA, Man City, Rugby Union, and things like that. So the game has a bit of a a bit of a depth to it in terms of the market that it can saturate as well. But the great news is that Gordon is willing to provide a couple of the games as competition prizes, I should say, for NARSA members. And what we've done when we had the MyJers memberships before is I literally Googled random draw generator, put in all the clubs' names or people's names, clicked generate or whatever the click button said, and then a person's name or a club's name came out. We're going to have a wee bit more of a think about that for this one. We'll see how it goes, but there's different ways to do that, and what we might do is maybe do it a bit more online, and maybe do if you answer a trivia question correctly and then retweet or tag two people or something like that. I don't really know this sort of stuff. I'll get some guidance and advice from the NARSA Communications Subcommittee as to how best to do this, but we'll try and make it a wee bit more interactive if we can. And another part of that is that we might be able to swing that all competition entrants, even if you don't win, would qualify for a percentage discount on the game purchases if you so wish to be looking to buy that at some point afterwards as well. And just a wee interesting factoid on that Gordon and his partner in the business recorded the Dragon's Den, and I'm sure that it's going to be aired at some point around about Easter, so maybe 5 or 6 weeks from now. They actually recorded it back in October, and it should be aired as I say, in the next wee while there. So something to check out, just as a wee bit of interest, just to kind of connect all the dots and how connected they are out there as well. One question I did ask him was, who writes the questions and how do you validate those questions are bona fide, appropriate, reasonable, true, factually correct, that kind of thing, and the kind of process that they follow. And maybe I'm stealing a bit of Gordon's thunder. We can talk about this if we do get a chance to interview him. But Gordon will list out the categories and then send the categories to the club for validation. And it could be previous managers, cup finals, European adventures, whatever it would be, trophies won or something like that. And he sends that to the club for validation and approval. The particular club in question would then say yes, and then they would go ahead and get questions written from basically a pool of question writers who would do a bunch of research and then come up with the questions. And then it's all sent to the particular club historian for fact checking and verification as well. So a wee bit of a process in the background. A little bit boring, I know, but I'm always interested to hear this sort of stuff and to see what sort of work and level of effort has to go into it as well. So yeah, another licensee that we've managed to chat to, and we do have at least one more in the works for now, and hopefully we'll get a chance to chat to them over the next week or two, and we'll bring you more information on that. So stay tuned in terms of what the competition will look like for the board games, and we will be in touch when we get that kind of ironed out. From a communications perspective for this week, the last Wednesday night, the NARSA Communications Subcommittee, as well as Sandra Hawthorne, the NARSA Secretary as well, met with a fella from Dallas, Texas, by the name of Alistair Green. Yeah, Green, that's his last name, who is not a NARSA member and not a member of a NARSA club, but who contacted his own spec through social media with a desire to ensure that the NARSA community was accessible and available for Rangers fans all over North America. So we got on the phone with Alistair and, as I mentioned, the committee, and we had a great chat. It was a breath of fresh air. There was ideas banded around. It was only just over 30 minutes, the call, and we now have some actionable next steps to help try to cast our communication reach as wide as possible across the continent and maybe beyond as well. And more will follow on that in the coming weeks. And what I'd like to just share about that is, I think, honestly, folks, that's what it's going to take for us to continue to be required, to be relevant to our fan base here in North America. So I would encourage anyone, you don't even have to be in this continent. If you have any ideas that you think would be able to be beneficial to NARSA, to help raise the profile of the organisation, to help support Bears who are over here who might not have heard of us or might not see the value in being involved with the organisation, then we're more than happy to do that. So please don't ever hesitate to get in touch with any ideas that you might have. None will be stupid, I can guarantee that. And again, you can contact me anytime on rangerssc@hotmail.com. That's 2 S's and 2 C's. Great chat, and as I say, we'll be in touch with more when we know more. And one other wee communication related bit of info that you probably know about already, but just in case you don't, I'll tell you that last midweek, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, I think Thursday maybe, Rangers launched a brand new app to be downloaded on all or any smart devices. You can download it at your regular app store if you haven't done so already, and if you do, or if you have already even, I'm sure you haven't been disappointed, or you won't be disappointed if you don't have it yet. It's very well laid out. There's pretty much everything from the website in a handy and very, very easy to navigate app. And you can also access Rangers TV from the app. But just one wee point worth noting is that that would basically be like you logging into Rangers TV's website, because you're essentially going through a browser from that perspective. I did check with Rangers TV to say, is there an amalgamation process that's being considered at some point in terms of putting both apps together, and the answer was no. So both the RTV and the Rangers proper apps are going to work side by side. So I'd suggest when you can, and I can't actually really think of a reason when you couldn't, to be honest, just access all things RTV through the RTV app. Then I imagine it will save you data, and it will be a bit more of a seamless experience for you. But other features, certainly the new Rangers app is very, very good. Double checked with the club in terms of, is there anything material that might be of interest in NARSA Bears for the new app. And the base platform of the app is actually by a very popular sports app company called Yinscam. YINZCAM, and Yinscam have a very broad range of NFL, NBA and NHL clients for folks that follow those sorts of sports over here, including both the Super Bowl losers, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Super Bowl winners, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. The new app also allows, if you go into the settings and notifications, you'll be able to see some location-based option to be able to switch that on, and will allow more pointed and personalised communications for fans based on a variety of factors, for example geography or status as a season ticket holder or not, and basically the philosophy from the club in terms of getting pointed communication messaging out to the fans is that they have the right message delivered to the right fan at the right time. So all very interesting stuff, and to this end, I think it's time that someone way smarter than me in all of this, in terms of the club's digital strategy, came on and gave us a little bit of a pointer in terms of what they're doing and where they're going and all that sort of thing. So to that point, I'm delighted to let you know that Robert Boyle, who is Rangers Football Club's head of digital, has agreed to come on the show sometime in the next wee while to discuss the strategy, the digital developments to date, and what we can expect to see coming next. So we will have Robert on. It won't be this week, but maybe we'll try and get him on next week, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with him and then seeing where that conversation takes us next. So stay tuned for that one. But as I say, if you haven't checked out the app, please go download it. It's free to download, and you won't be disappointed. There's even a wee GIFs section where you can go and download a whole bunch of Rangers related GIFs. Funny stuff in there with Goldson and Tav and Morelos and a whole bunch of things that are pretty fun to be able to put on your social media things, or just at least send to your pals or something like that. And one thing also, just to finish off the communications section for this week, I wanted just a quick reminder that we do have a NARSA Communications Facebook group or Facebook page specific for NARSA Communications, obviously, because that's what it's called, and a WhatsApp group as well. And I'd like to just once again encourage as many NARSA Bears as possible to join. The WhatsApp group is a lot of fun. That's where we do most of the communication, to be honest, and there's lots and lots of stuff going on there. Funny anecdotes, banter between people, some friendships being born from there, I'm fairly sure, and there's a great deal of camaraderie. So if you need any information on that, by all means, please just get in contact with me and we'll get you added there and see if we can build that group up. I think right now there's there's something like 50 odd people on there, and I know we can get more and get a bit more banter going as well. So we'd be happy to have you there if you have the notion and desire and time to do so. So in closing this week, I am very happy to tell you that we have another interview scheduled. I kind of alluded to it a wee bit earlier when I was talking about Robert Boyle. And this time we are moving on from fans media and we're heading back inside the club, and we're going to be talking with Nick Thompson. And Nick is the communications and content manager within the commercial and marketing department at Rangers, and Nick is responsible for many of the RTV interviews that we enjoy today, post-match interviews, pre-match interviews, and amongst other things. And so what we'll be talking about is the evolution of content creation and his time with the club. I think he's been at the club around about 6 years or so. So just before the Dave King and Three Bears era started. So we're going to talk about how things have evolved during his time with the club, where the communications fits with the overall strategy of the club, any funny anecdotes that he's had with any players or management team or anything like that, and what the future holds for that as well. If we can, I know that Nick isn't travelling with the team out to the European tie this week, so we might have a chance to record that on Thursday. If we record it on Thursday, we'll get it out on Friday like we have the last couple of weeks. But if we have to jig that schedule around a wee bit, we will, and we'll let you know as soon as we can get that out. But hopefully another entertaining listen for the folks out there. And we do have some other interviews lined up over the next couple of weeks. And I know I keep saying this, but we will start making a move on the NARSA Club's history pods in the next couple of weeks as well. It's going to be a wee bit busy. It's picking up a bit of steam, and we've got some really good guests coming on over the next wee while, and it's a wee bit kind of all over the place, but I'm absolutely certain that you're going to be very impressed with some of the guests that we have in the next wee while. And just once again, as I mentioned last week, if there is anyone that either you have access to or you would like us to try and gain access to, that you would like to come on, a legend, in terms of maybe players from the 60s, 70s, 80s, or, current day legends as well, not to discount the 90s or the 2000s, of course, but just if there's basically anyone from a Rangers realm, business side, playing side, coaching side, staff, whatever, please do let us know. As I mentioned last week, we are fortunate that we have access to a variety of resources within the club, and the niche that we're trying to hit here is just kind of stories from people that help run the club or help make the product the way that the product is, in terms of our interactions with all things Rangers as well. And there's lots and lots of fun stories out there, I'm fairly certain. So please don't hesitate to get in contact either on social media or at my email address, as I mentioned earlier there, and we'll do our very best to get that information, or to make the contact, of course, and then get that information out there. We're definitely more than happy to try at the very least. So here's looking forward to a huge European night for us on Thursday, and most importantly for another clean sheet and a win on Saturday as we truly get towards the countdown to 55. Thank you very, very much for taking the time to listen, and please do take the time to share this with whomever you think might enjoy it. Take care, folks. All the very best. Cheerio.